These cans can change your life, and I'm about to tell you how in just the next few minutes. These cans are about to go today into my recycling, and they're going to make a long journey to our recycling center, and they're going to get smashed up and melted down. They're going to get formed into new cans and new things. And one of these days, you or I may be drinking from a part of one of these very same cans. That's how recycling works. But that is not how humans work. And I want to share with you in the next few minutes how you can stop recycling your thoughts. The reason you're living the life you're living today is because you're recycling the same old thoughts you've always had. You're on a loop, you're on a repeat. You don't even know it because 90% of those thoughts are coming from your subconscious mind. They're driving your life, and you can change it all starting right now, today. Let me get into it and tell you exactly how to do that. Thoughts become things. That's what Joe Dispenza says. Thoughts become things in our life through a process. The thoughts you've been thinking all of your life are built into your subconscious. In fact, until we're about 7 years old, we're running on theta brainwave activity. That's the brain waves you experience now in your adult life, just as you're going to sleep and just as you're waking up in the morning. That's the state your brain physically operates in, and it's a receptive mode where you can pre-program anything in there you want to. So until we're about 7 years old, we live in that mode all of our life. We are just being programmed, getting ready to be humans. The problem is your parents and your influences and television and all the things we experience in our life program us for how life works. Your influences have also programmed them, and we pass on these limiting beliefs of how life works and why you can and can't do certain things. Most of us, I would say the lion's share of humanity, live on a circular path of the same thoughts, the same feelings, the same way we live our life, and that's why the average person is the average person. The good news is you can change it all. Are you dreaming of a bigger, better life, a different financial picture, a different job, a different avenue to happiness, if you want to call it that dream relationship, whatever it is for you? Are you dreaming of a better life than you're living right now? I guarantee you it's possible, and it all starts right here when we stop recycling the same old thoughts in our life and we choose to program our brain with brand new thoughts. Here's what Dispenza would say the process is. Here's how a thought becomes a thing. A thought that you think begins to be a pattern that you think in your life. And that thought has a feeling attached to it. When you think that you can't do something, for example, if you have an idea about how you could break out of your current job and start a new job, you think a thought about why you can't do that because you've thought that thought many times. Well, I would, but I would have to learn this or go to school for this, or I would have to leave this and I don't have enough money. And usually there's a lot of thoughts attached to it, and it brings about a feeling. You begin to think about a new possibility that you could do, but you go back to that old thought pattern, that recycled circle track that you've been running on all your life, and you think, that's a great thought, but, and then you put these dots behind that but of why you can't, and it gets this feeling going in your emotions, and you know the feeling well. You feel good for a moment, you feel excited, you feel vibrant, and then you crash down and you feel like, no, I'm still who I am. This is still my situation. Get back to reality. You get back to reality and understand that you got to make that money and you got to go to that job. And even if you hate it, you got to live that life, whatever that is. It doesn't have to be a job for you, but we have this thought and we have this strong feeling attached to it. And those thoughts and feelings wrapped together, Dispenza would say, creates this reality. It creates your personality, which creates your personal reality. And what we have to do to change that is we have to start by changing the thought, and then it starts to change the feeling. And here's what starts to happen when you turn around and go in the other direction. When you start thinking a new thought, when you say, hey, recycling's for cans, not for people. I'm getting off the track. I'm getting on the open road. I'm not going around the NASCAR track anymore. I'm going cross country with my thoughts. When that thought comes of that new job, that new thing, that new relationship, whatever it is for you, when it comes, don't fight it. Let it come up and start to feel what it would feel like to live that job out, to live that new reality out, to become that new person. And when you start to think a thought and you start to feel a new feeling, guess what's going to start happening? If you will start to repeat that thought and repeat that feeling on a daily basis, not just thinking what if, but start thinking as if it has already happened. See, we think what if, and we need to think as if. You're thinking, what if I could do this? And then pretty soon you're back to that bad feeling because you give yourself all the excuses about why you can't. Stop thinking what if and start thinking as if. What if you started thinking as if that reality had already happened in your life? You could attach that strong feeling, that strong emotion. So now you're thinking right, you're feeling right, and the next thing that starts to change is your behaviors. You start acting differently. You start acting right. You stop making that same old choice of going back to that job and saying I'm stuck here, or going back to that place where you're not in that relationship you want to be, or you're not living that reality you want to live. You just keep going back there again and again. You stay on that track, but the new thought and the new feeling will lead you to the open road, and you'll start behaving in a new way. And when you start acting in a new way, you start making new decisions. You say, hey, I could go back to school. Hey, I could get online and learn how to do this. Hey, I could take one baby step towards that life of my dreams. I could start taking inspired action, listening to the universe, listening to source, listening to God, whatever you believe, that higher power that drives all that is. You could start listening to that voice and acting one baby step at a time on it. Now your behaviors are changing. Your thoughts have changed, your feelings have changed, your behaviors have changed, and guess what's changing next? Your beliefs change. You begin to believe something different than you've ever believed before. You stop believing you can't, and you start believing you can, because you've stopped asking yourself the question, what if, and you've started acting in your life as if that reality is already happening. Now you're feeling good about it, and pretty soon you're seeing your behaviors cause changes in your life, and now you're really starting to believe it. The belief has come. When the thought becomes a feeling, becomes a behavior, becomes a belief, guess what's going to happen in your life? You're going to create a new personal reality. As Dispenza would say, if you want a new personal reality, you got to create a new personality, and you've done that. You've thought a new thought. You've felt a new feeling. You've acted in a new way with a new behavior. You've created a new belief about yourself, and now you got momentum, and pretty soon you're a brand new you. How do I know this? Because I did this very thing over the last year and a half, well, almost 2 years really now in my life. But over about a year and a half, it took me to really change it, and it took me to where I'm at doing this with you right now. By the way, if you need some help on your journey, there's a link below on how you can work with me one-on-one. I'd love to personally help you figure it all out. There's a lot of ways to do that. Click on the link, check it out. If you just need some help on your day-to-day, subscribe to the channel here. I share this kind of stuff all the time right here, but I know that you can do it. Now, I want to tell you something that Joe will not tell you. Joe is great about the science of how thoughts become things and the spirituality of how that connects together. But what really changed it for me was really outside of Joe's wheelhouse. And I hate to say that because Joe's great. I love all he teaches. But the thing that he really doesn't emphasize a lot, that at least changed it all for me, was what a guy named Dr. David Hawkins, who is no longer with us, taught. He was a psychiatrist, psychologist. For years, he worked with people, and he came up with this system of ranking emotion and feelings and kind of how we live our life from the negative to the positive side of that scale. And he talked about how to change all that, to move from a negative state of living, what David Barrow would call a primal state of living, to a powerful state of living, to a positive state of living. And here's what Hawkins said that really began to transform my life, and I believe can transform yours. He said to get from the negative state to the positive state, you simply have to let go. What does it mean to let go? It means to let the emotions and the feelings and the trauma and the stuff that you have repressed and suppressed and pushed down into your being, into your soul. It's created this negative energy, and you let it rise up once and for all. Feel your feelings, as they say in the psychiatry world. Feel those feelings, and in a matter of moments, not a matter of years, you can take each of those feelings, those traumas, those things that have held you back, those limiting beliefs, you can feel them physically in your body. You can feel them in your emotions, spiritually, spiritually, emotionally, and you can let them rise up and you can let them depart out of your body. And when that energy leaves, you have freed a channel to begin to create the life of your dreams. Now, Joe will not teach you this, but Dr. David Hawkins has. And for me, after all of the changing of my thinking, and that was all an important process for me, an important part, and I believe it will be for you too. After I changed my thinking and I changed my feelings and I changed my behaviors and I changed my beliefs, there was still something holding me back. And I started to let go of the past that I'd been hanging on to. I started to release that, and I will never forget the day I did it. I was working with my coach, the coach that kind of helped me walk through this on a one-on-one level, the great Michael Watson here. Check him out on YouTube. I'll link him below. Michael walked me through a session one day where I let go of some things that had held me back, and that's a whole nother video for a whole nother time. But the way I grew up in an evangelical world in the Bible Belt, I was able to let go of these limiting beliefs of how everything worked and why I was held back. And after that day, things dramatically changed in my life, and they have changed for the better ever since. And it's brought me more success, more abundance, more life than I've ever lived in my life up to that moment. And you can do the same thing. This is what it is to get off the recycling train. Stop running on that same loop, that same NASCAR track, and get on the open road to the dreams you've always dreamed deep down in your heart. Even if you haven't put a name on them yet, there's an open road waiting for you. Are you ready to get in the car, smash the gas, get off the same old loop, stop recycling your thoughts, and start today? I believe in you. I know you can do it, and I love you. Let's do it together. I'll see you in the next video.